screaming in pain and sorrow. In legend and in fact, it is known as
It never ceases to amaze just how much Comicsgate and the events going on within it resemble Gamergate. It's like there is a playbook that people on all sides, operate according to. But we're at a stage now in Comicsgate which I'm not particularly engaged with. I much prefer British and European comics. I'm not really into the whole superhero thing per se, so I'm kind of a more detached observer of what's going on here. But we're at the stage now where the organised pushback, if you will, is going on. Creator after creator, writer after writer, publisher after publisher, all coming out to condemn Comicsgate. And very few, if any of them, have actually bothered to look into what the Comicsgate people are saying. And even if they had, they're ignoring what they're saying and going with the narrative that has been projected. I don't particularly want to talk about that, but that's not really a battle you can win, per se. You can't really convince people otherwise. You can't reason them out of a position they were not reasoned into. They're trusting their friends and what their friends have told them. And if you convince them otherwise, then the threat is that they're going to lose their friends, and so forth. And very few people are actually creatures of principle. Which brings me on to the topic that I do want to talk about. And that's Vox Day. Vox Day is a... well, I'm not going to say whore because I respect sex workers. Yeah, I'm not even going to say sluts. He is what he is. He is a relentless self-promoter with no real principles to speak of whatsoever. And he has attached himself lamprey-like, sucking away on the side of Gamergate, the Sad Puppies, and now Comicsgate with his alt hero thing. This goes back quite a way with Vox Day. It's a fairly early adopter. But the trouble with Vox Day is that he is everything that the social justice mob and the clueless people who are arrayed against Comicsgate, he is everything that they claim all of you are. He is genuinely alt-right. He is a virulent racist. He is a nasty piece of work, and he is a relentless self-promoter. And here's the thing, if you're anything like Gamergate, you are principled. And so when you say you support free expression, you support free expression for everybody, even inconvenient, self-promoting flibberty-gibbets like Vox Day. So you're caught in that he is everything that they say you are and you're not, but you also probably support his right to write and produce and whatever else, whatever content he wants, which they're going to take as support for what he believes, not support for his rights. And there's the problem. So you got a choice. You can stick to your principles and say, we support the right of anyone to create anything, we just want it to be like this, and we feel that other people with different points of view are being censored and pushed out, and people are getting work that don't deserve it, perhaps, on the basis of talent and ability. So you can stick to your principles, and that would mean you'd have to kind of semi-support Vox Day. He can do what he wants. We agree with his right to do so, even if we don't agree with his content. Or you can try and push him out and marginalise him and performatively decry what he does, and you can do that for other bad actors within Comicsgate. The thing is, if you're going to do that, do it for yourselves and try and do it in a principled way. Because even though anti-Comicsgate people are demanding that you police your hashtag, quite how, I have no idea. Try asking them how they would go about it. How do you stop someone, bad actors, posting a hashtag? How, And it's not going to make any difference if you do condemn every single bad actor that brings up Comicsgate or uses the tag. they're not going to notice because they probably have lots of you blocked in the first place, and they're not going to give you any credit when you do. Gamergate tried to stop genuine harassers from using the tag and acting with it. They tracked down people who were sending threats and nonsense to people like Anita Sarkeesian. They tried via the anti-harassment patrol to show willing, you know, and did they get any credit for it? Did they fuck? It makes no difference whatsoever. If you're going to do it, you've got to do it for yourselves, and you've got to do it in a way that is consistent. You say, well, we condemn everything that Vox Day says and does, and his political views and whatever else, but he has the right to express them. You've got to be clear on that line. But the people attacking you are not going to change the way that they're going after you at all. It's just, if you're doing it for them, it's going to do you no good whatsoever. They're not going to change their minds about you. Certainly not at this point. Look, I understand the temptation to take in anybody that wants to be on your side, because it can feel isolating and terrible to be asking for and saying one thing, having it misinterpreted. So that anyone who agrees with you or seems to agree with you, you want to welcome with arms held wide. You know, you want to bring them in and give them a hug and fight alongside them, even if you differ on a lot of other things. Short term, that can be helpful. Long term, less so. I mean, again, look at Gamergate. The vast and overwhelming majority of people that were involved in Gamergate from the start were left libertarians, small L's in both cases. You know, they were cultural libertarians, politically open-minded, tolerant, and so on, and were rebelling against the intolerance that they saw, the imposition and the authoritarianism. You know, even if it perhaps agreed with them on some points politically, they didn't agree that it should be imposed and forced, tokenized, and so on. So that's how you got this weird position wherein the right, which has been being censored to a large degree, I don't think there's any denying that. Whether you agree with it or not is another matter. But the right, who felt that they were being censored culturally and outmatched culturally, allying with a group that was mostly left libertarian. I think the important part on both ends was the libertarian part. So you had a lot of right libertarians working with left libertarians for creative freedom and expression, which is something that they can agree on, besides, you know, legalizing pot. So that's how you got a group, a site, a news organisation, in the loosest sense of the word, like Breitbart, siding with Gamergate, a right-wing news outlet siding with a left-wing, or at least a primarily left-wing movement. In the short term, that was kind of good, because it gave access to a new audience, and for all his flaws and problems and narcissism and Vox Day-like self-promotion, at the start of Gamergate, Milo Yiannopoulos was just about the only person reporting fairly and honestly on the movement. You know, he may have his issues elsewhere, and certainly we can all point to lies or getting interns to do stuff for him, or shifty, dodgy things that he said or done, but when it came to Gamergate, at least in those initial few stories, before he got into his vendettas, he was reporting fairly and accurately on Gamergate, and that's why people sided with him. Of course, later on, he became much more of a liability. For Vox Day, he's nothing but a liability to the Sad Puppies, to Gamergate, to Comicsgate, to anything else that he happens to get involved in. Because his fans, and to a large extent they are trolls, they are people who will send torrents of abuse and so on. But there's nothing you can really do about this as a hashtag. You can't stop him from using the tag, you can't stop him from using the branding, so to speak. There's just no way to do it. Anyone trying to say that he is representative is being an idiot, but that is a story that will stick. And there's just no good way to navigate this. Just be clear in your own conscience. Don't dance to their tune, dance to your own. Be clear about your principles. You know, restate why and what you mean constantly, over and over and over again. Do not allow them to tell you that you're racist or sexist or whatever else. You know it's not true. And anti-Comicsgate people, don't project. Don't tell people what their arguments are, what their points are. Don't call them racist or sexist or whatever else, because that's not where their objections lie. I'm sure there are cases where that is true, like Vox Day, but for the vast majority that's not what they're saying, not what they're arguing for. And when you try and mind read and tell them what they're arguing for, you're just pushing them further and further away, and you're creating more converts to their cause. Because they know they're not racist, they know they're not sexist, and you just screaming that at them is not persuasive. Steelman their arguments, take them at their face value, and discuss and argue those points. I mean, there is no way around the fact that, for example, positive discrimination in hiring is discrimination. Now you need to find a way to justify that to them and to yourselves. But argue that. Don't just tell them they hate black people or they hate women, because that's not the case. There's plenty of historical examples that the Comicsgate people are supportive of, creators that they're supportive of, who they think are good, that fall into these categories. So that can't be it. It's got to be something else. And the positive discrimination is where the problem lies, and that's where you need to have the argument. And it's the same case over everything else. I mean, I'm tempted to do your job for you, to play devil's advocate, to find someone from Comicsgate who's willing to come on here and on a stream and have a debate with me about the issues, with me adopting the role of a more reasonable social justice warrior, to argue their side of the things that you are all supposedly debating and arguing about, because you're not fucking doing it. We'll see. Zang, stay away from Vox Day. Lie down with dogs, you get fleas.
Today. See, I don't like the, I have, okay, like a lot of you, I hate a lot, you know? But I hate with style and creativity.